Hello again and welcome. For a short period of time, I worked in a country where there was a curfew, which started at 2 in the morning. We all had to be off the streets by that time, according to the law. I nearly said we had to be at home, but obviously that was not the case. I felt constrained by being told what to do, even though it's only very rarely in my life that I've ever wanted to be out partying at that time, except on some very special occasions such as welcoming in the new year. Life has been a bit like that for all of us recently. We've all been told the things that we cannot do, the places that we cannot go, and the people we cannot be with. The relief that once again we've been allowed out to these places has been real, and people have partied until the early hours, as we've seen on our various screens. And then we've had to shut down again, and then opened up again, until we were really unclear about what we were allowed to do, where, when, and with whom, and indeed in what sort of clothing. At the time of speaking, it is the beginning of February. From a few days before Christmas, daylight hours have been slowly increasing, until now it's become more obvious. Warmth is slowly coming back to our Western world, even as other parts get slowly cooler and daylight hours shorter. That is the joy of living on a globe whose axis has a distinct tilt to it, the leaning world of the solar system. In times past, there will be a slow reduction in the need for fuel for heating and candles for lighting. But on the other hand, the food stocks will be much lower, and there will be more reliance on root vegetables that were used in the stews and casseroles to help to keep us warm, as long as they had not rotted away in their garden storage camp made from soil, sand and straw. At the same time, in these olden days, it was felt that Mother Nature needed to be encouraged to spring back into life, and rituals would be followed to make sure that both this and the lengthening of days continued. In the southwest of England, we have the traditional 12th night of Christmas celebration of wassailing, a ceremony that involves singing and drinking to the health of the trees. Generally, of course, given the area, this is mostly aimed at the cider apple tree. The health of these trees was financially and socially important. Every village would have their own form of ceremony, but all aimed at bringing the trees back into life, and often involving a lighted candle. And anyway, it was a good time for a party at the end of the Christmas period, which had often been going on for the whole 12 days. Candles are often central to many of our celebrations, both Christian and secular. Although the candles on the Christmas tree have mostly been replaced by saver electric versions, we do have small items in our homes into which we insert a bright light to represent a candle. Or we have diffusers with a candle to heat up scented oil. And of course, we have the romantic meal or bath, which would not be the same without a good supply of candles. And candles form a major part of children's birthday party celebrations. Children of all ages like a cake with candles, although I have noticed that after a while the number goes down rather than up. For a while I was using a hall in which to run training courses that was some miles from the nearest mains supplies. We brought water into the building via a bowser. A septic tank was used for waste, and a generator supplied us with light via an army field lighting system. Along with this, we were able to use that most modern training invention of the time, the overhead projector. Prior to borrowing the generator, we had relied on gas lamps, and for training used the flip chart along with black and felt boards. Gas lighting is so much better for the eyes than electric bulbs, softer and more diffuse, indeed very much like candles but less prone to being blown out. They also supply warmth in the evening when the temperature dipped below the daytime 90 degrees. If you're listening to this on the 2nd of February, then you are at the midpoint of winter and in need of light and heat. This is the halfway point between the shortest day of the year and the spring equinox. In pre-Christian times, this day was known as the Festival of Lights and celebrated the increase in the sun's strength. It is 40 days since Christmas Day, and on today falls the final celebration day of Christmas, the day that Jesus is offered up for his naming ceremony. One of the places that we were recently prevented from visiting for worship was the local church building. Throughout history, Christians have been forbidden from joining together in worship, but so many did so in catacombs and underground meeting places where the only light was a candle. Just like us in recent times, Mary, the mother of Joseph, was not allowed to visit her place of worship, but for a different reason to us. Mary needs 40 days after the birth of her firstborn son to become ritually clean after the mess and indeed the bloodiness of childbirth. This is part and parcel of the Jewish tradition that requires those attending to worship to be ritually clean. The Gospel of Luke says that Jesus was met at the temple by Anna and Simeon. Simeon was taking his turn at the temple. When Mary and Joseph arrived with Jesus, Simeon took Jesus in his arms, blessed him, and called him a light to the world. To this day, Christians refer to Jesus as the light of the world and use this day of his naming ceremony to bring the candles that will be used for the rest of the year into the church to be blessed. The 2nd of February became known as the Festival Day of Candles, otherwise known as Candlemas, a day for celebration and partying in many areas of the world. On Candlemas night, many people placed lighted candles in their windows at home, and you can finally put away the manger laid out for the Christmas celebration. Candlemas is one of the many celebrations around this time of Christ coming among us. Just as his mother was purified, we now come to him for cleansing and for forgiveness for the wrongs that we have done. We can also celebrate the joy of his coming, of his being made known to his family, to the shepherds, and to the Magi, and now to Simeon. And we can look forward to the coming months, leading us to Lent, Christ's passion, his death, and then his resurrection. My name is Roger, and this podcast is one of a series from the Cornerstone United Reformed Church in Southend. I hope it's been a benefit to you, wherever you are in your faith, and that God will bless you and keep you safe. Goodbye for now.